What happens when a U.S. president tries to fire a Federal Reserve governor? This week, a federal judge told Donald Trump, not so fast. The court has temporarily blocked Trump from removing Lisa Cook, one of the most important voices on the Federal Reserve Board. But why is this happening? What does it mean for the economy? And most importantly, how could it affect your wallet? Stay tuned, because this story isn't just politics. It's about the future of money in America. Let's start with the basics. Lisa Cook is a Federal Reserve governor, appointed back in 2022 and confirmed for a full term in 2023. She's the first black woman to serve on the Fed's Board of Governors, and she plays a role in setting interest rates, the decisions that shape everything from mortgages to credit card debt. President Trump, in his second term, moved to fire her. He cited allegations of mortgage fraud that date back to before her appointment. Cook denies any wrongdoing, and no charges have been filed. But here's the catch. The Federal Reserve Act says governors can only be removed for cause. That means misconduct or negligence while in office. And that's where the courtroom battle begins. Trump's legal team argued that the allegations were serious enough to justify her dismissal. But Cook fought back, filing a lawsuit against the administration. And this week, Judge Gia Cobb issued a preliminary injunction, temporarily blocking Trump from firing her. In simple terms, Cook stays in her job while the legal fight plays out. Why does this matter? Because it's not just about one person. This case is testing how much power a president has over the Federal Reserve, an institution that's supposed to be independent from politics. And here's the twist. Trump has been highly critical of the Fed in the past. Back in his first term, he pressured Jerome Powell to cut rates. Now, his move to remove a governor raises an even bigger question. Can the president reshape the Fed to serve his political goals? Let's break down why this fight matters to you. The Fed makes decisions that directly impact your daily life. If you have a mortgage, the Fed's interest rate decisions affect your monthly payment. If you're saving for retirement, Fed policy moves the stock market. If you're paying off credit cards or loans, Fed rates change your debt costs. Now imagine if presidents could fire governors anytime they disagreed with Fed policy. The Fed could become just another political tool, cutting rates to boost the economy before an election, then raising them later, regardless of long-term stability. That would destroy the independence the Fed was designed to protect. And independence is what keeps U.S. markets trusted worldwide. This isn't the first time presidents have clashed with the Fed. In the 1970s, President Nixon pressured Fed Chair Arthur Burns to keep rates low before his re-election, contributing to runaway inflation later on. During Trump's first term, he repeatedly criticized Fed Chair Jerome Powell on Twitter for raising interest rates. But here's what's new. A president actually trying to remove a sitting governor. That hasn't happened in modern U.S. history. And now the courts are being asked to draw the line. This case could set a precedent that either strengthens the Fed's independence or opens the door for future presidents to tighten their grip on America's central bank. So what's next? Trump's team is expected to appeal the injunction. This could easily end up in the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, the Department of Justice is investigating the mortgage allegations against Cook, though no charges have been filed. She insists the claims are politically motivated, and in the short term, Cook remains fully active on the Fed's board, meaning she'll take part in the key September meeting, where officials are expected to debate whether to cut interest rates again. So let's zoom out. This battle isn't just Trump versus Lisa Cook. It's about who controls America's money. If presidents can fire Federal Reserve governors whenever they want, the independence of the Fed could crumble. And if that happens, the consequences will hit you through higher inflation, unstable markets, and unpredictable interest rates. For now, Lisa Cook keeps her seat at the table, but the fight is far from over. So let's zoom out. This battle isn't just Trump versus Lisa Cook. It's about who controls America's money. If presidents can fire Federal Reserve governors whenever they want, the independence of the Fed could crumble. And if that happens, the consequences will hit you through higher inflation, unstable markets, and unpredictable interest rates. For now, Lisa Cook keeps her seat at the table, but the fight is far from over. Stay tuned, because this showdown between Trump and the Fed could change the way money works in America. And before we wrap up, let's tackle some of the most common questions you might have about this case. Question 1. Why can't Trump just fire Lisa Cook like other government officials? Answer. Federal Reserve governors aren't like cabinet members. By law, they can only be removed for cause, meaning misconduct or negligence while in office. This protects the Fed's independence from political pressure. Question 2. What does for cause really mean? Answer. In legal terms, it means wrongdoing tied to the person's duties at the Fed. Since the allegations against Cook involve events before she was appointed, the court ruled they don't qualify as for cause. Q3. What happens if Trump eventually wins this case? Answer. If courts side with him, Cook could be removed, giving Trump more control over the Fed. That would set a powerful precedent, letting presidents influence monetary policy directly, something markets are very nervous about. Q4. How does this impact everyday Americans right now? Answer. Immediately, not much changes. Cook is still voting on Fed policy, including the upcoming meeting on interest rates. But long-term, if political pressure takes over the Fed, your mortgage, loans, and savings could all be at risk. Q5. Could this go all the way to the Supreme Court? Answer. Yes. Legal experts widely expect that's where it's headed. The Supreme Court may have to decide whether a president truly has the power to fire a Fed governor. Q6. Has anything like this happened before? Answer. Not in modern history. Presidents have pushed the Fed. Nixon did it in the 70s, and Trump pressured Powell during his first term. But actually, trying to remove a governor? This is unprecedented. Q7. What's the timeline for resolution? Answer. Appeals could drag this out for months, maybe even longer. Until then, Cook keeps her job, and the fight moves through the courts. So the bottom line? This legal battle is about much more than one person. It's about the future independence of the Federal Reserve, and that affects every American household. We'll keep tracking it right here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next update, because this story is just getting started.